Welcome to this interview series. My name is Christina Theodoraki. I'm editor of Small Business Economics and Entrepreneurship Journal, and I have the great honor to interview today Francisco or Paco Liñán from the University of Seville in Spain. Welcome, Paco, and thank you very much for joining us to this interview series today.
Thank you, Christina. It's my pleasure to be here, and it's a real honor that you think my research or our research in Seville is worthy of being included in this video series.
We're very glad to have you here. And today, Paco is going to give us more insight on his article published in Open Access in Small Business Economics in November 2020. The paper is entitled, "Does Entrepreneurship Fit Here? Women Entrepreneurs, Gender Role Orientation, and Entrepreneurial Culture." This article is co-authored with Inmaculada Jaén and Domingo Martín from the University of Seville, also in Spain. And I would like to start my first question. Paco, could you please tell us more about what is your article about, and can you please give us also the history of this article?
Okay, well, the paper analyzes how culture affects women entrepreneurship, but we start from the idea that women are not a homogeneous whole, but there are differences between different groups of women. So we try to focus on one specific aspect of gender role orientation to identify different groups of women and see if culture affects them differently. Okay? So that's basically the idea of the article. And the history, well, it has to do with a project we got funded by the Spanish government, this Elite project. Well, in this project, we try to investigate, this is a wider project, we try to investigate the different elements that affect the decision to act. So what moves people from potential entrepreneurs to nascent and actual entrepreneurs. And we focus on people with higher education, because when we think these people, and the statistics, gen data, and other sources of information confirm that these people have the highest potential for innovative, growth-oriented enterprises. So that's the idea of the project, and we have a survey on adults with university education. Well, around half of them are women, of course. So we saw the call for papers for the special issue on women entrepreneurship and culture in small business economics, and we thought it could be of interest for us. Because one of the questions we had is about perceived regional culture, whether it's more or less entrepreneurial. And we also have a gender role orientation, the Ben's sex role inventory. So we could frame this paper from this point of view. This is based on previous work of ours. We had some papers before, for example, in 2016, in the Journal of Small Business Management, with my colleague Javier Santos and Muhammad Bruni from the UK, where we analyzed two groups of potential entrepreneurs in UK and Spain, and we found that once you control for country differences, there is consistent differences between women and men in the way they are affected by society, by social culture, right? Sorry, there's someone funny. And so that's based some of the origin of interest in this specific topic. Then we have another, within the project, we have another focus on with the previous project, we have a focus on personal values and how they affect entrepreneurship, the different aspects of entrepreneurship. And we have a number of papers on this line of research, also with Inmaculada Jaén, one of the co-authors in this paper. And Domingo Martín is also a member of the group and is specialized in statistics, especially in logistic and linear order models and things like that. So we, the three of us, met together to try to build this paper. Well, I think this basically this is the story of the article. Then we went through the review. We were very lucky with the editors; they liked the idea, and well, the results I think were interesting enough to get this interest of the reviewers and the guest editors, and finally get published.
Great. And Paco, we often hear that great and impactful papers are related when they start the discussion, when they maintain the recent discussion, or they close the discussions. Here we open this the very important topic. And actually, can you tell us more? Why is your article important, and what we learned from your article that we didn't know before?
But I think that the most important takeout, if I have to point one from the paper, is finding that well, we analyze women. It could be the same if we do it with men, but in this case we analyze women, and we see that in effect there are different groups of women depending on their gender role orientation, and they react differently to perceived culture. And they are more or less likely to start or to follow an entrepreneurial career path, depending on their gender role orientation and the perception of culture.
Can you tell us more? How did you get this initial idea for your research, for this research?
Well, this has to do with the history of the articles. We were studying this topic before, and so we were familiar with the literature. There is previous research on the role of gender, on the influence of gender role orientation in entrepreneurship, but so far this had been used on general samples of men and women together. So that people with a masculine role orientation or an androgynous role orientation were more likely to follow entrepreneurial career paths. And this was okay without the distinction by, so everybody is more likely with this gender orientation, because entrepreneurship is associated with a typically male stereotype. So in society, when you think about entrepreneurs, you attach to them some characteristics that are typical of the stereotype of men, or the men role in society. So for this reason, people with a masculine orientation or androgynous, combining both masculine and feminine, are more likely to follow this entrepreneurial career path.
Great, very important topic about the gender orientation. And can you tell us more, probably, what are the black spots, or what we don't know already, or probably where do you see the research on gender orientation, on gender specificities going on this topic? What we'll see next, or probably you can share with us some new of your ideas of your future projects on this topic.
Well, there are very, very different future research lines that we can draw from this. In particular, one we are presently pushing is about the different influence of gender orientation and sex. So in this case, with a combined sample with men and women, we try to identify the different influence of these two elements. And well, this is work in progress, so it's still not finished, but what we are finding for the moment, provisionally, is that gender orientations or perceptions about how I am myself affects my attitudes, perceived control, or my intentions to start a venture, but they are not influential in the actual decision to start a venture. So people with some gender orientation, masculine or androgynous, are more likely to feel that the entrepreneurial career is desirable or is feasible for them, or have the intention to do it. But sex is more influential in the actual starting up. We are working on this idea, and our interpretation for the moment is that sex reflects what you look for others, and therefore it affects how you think others will react to your behavior. Sometimes it may actually be the cause of discrimination, right? So people may, even if they have the intention to start a venture, may not do it. In this case, women may be less likely to do it because they may face discrimination, or they may think it will be more difficult for them to do it. So men are more likely to actually start it up. But men are not necessarily necessarily have a more positive attitude, but it's people with a masculine orientation or androgynous orientation have a more positive attitude or perceive a higher self-efficacy, irrespective of whether they are men or women. So that's the idea we are working on at this moment. Right?
This is extremely interesting, and we see how the stereotypes and how sometimes the gender perceptions about the sex can be an obstacle in some situations, and how we can overpass these obstacles sometimes. So we need more research and findings to understand the situations. And can you tell us more how we can, how your findings can be applied? What will be your advices and insights to practitioners or even to women entrepreneurs or policymakers for this issue?
Well, there is one obvious practical implication of this is that if we want a wider share of the population in general, including both men and women, to participate in entrepreneurship, we should differentiate or separate the entrepreneurial stereotype from the male stereotype. So we should be able to generate, I wouldn't say a more gender neutral, but possibly generate different entrepreneurial stereotypes, so that we can see that this not only people with a masculine profile can be successful, because entrepreneurship is not only about masculine-like traits, but both kind of traits are necessary and are useful and are convenient for entrepreneurship. So as long as we are able to generate this alternative view of entrepreneurship, less associated with a masculine stereotype, we will attract more people, both men and women, into entrepreneurship.
Thank you very much, Paco, for sharing with us today your insightful research, and also for the inspiring discussion today. We're looking forward to see the products, the next articles on your research, ongoing research also, and we'll be happy to read it. For this paper, we encourage our readers and fellows to read your papers, and they can find it and download it freely, because it's open access from the Springer's website. So thank you again for joining us to the interview series, and I wish you a lovely day.
Okay, thank you very much, Christina.